Hey guys, today I want to share with you 3 tips for improving your writing. This is coming from a fiction author. I also love writing nonfiction and an English teacher by day. Okay, so I teach 7 through 12 English literature and writing, and these are just some basic things that I've noticed as I'm teaching can even help improve my own writing. Okay, so the number one thing that I tell people who want to be a writer, want to write a book, is just start writing. But I realized I should probably clarify what I mean by that. I don't mean start typing out your novel, like just start right in. There's some pre-writing that we should do. Now, I'm not contradicting myself, just start writing is true, but grab a pen and some paper, and we're writing down notes. Specifically, start with your characters. We want to focus on really getting to know our characters before we start anything else. Okay, so when I'm going to write a rom-com, I'm really focused, first of all, on my female main character, my male main character, and I kind of make like 2 columns. I write their names down, and then I'm going to start focusing on some important things about them. How I narrow down what I want to focus on is kind of like those get to know you questions. Think of it as if you were speed dating. What are those? You only have a few minutes. What are those really important things you want to know about the person next to you? Okay, so I want to know, where are they from? What do they like to do? What is their job? What are their goals? Those are kind of the main things that I focus on when I'm starting, and because I really need to understand who they are and what is their motivation. What is their goal? What are they trying to accomplish? And that'll be really important later when I tell you tip 3. Okay, so tip number 2 is really focusing on the basics. Don't forget those parts of speech, specifically verbs and adjectives. What do I mean by that? Well, you know, a verb is an action word or a state of being, but I'm going to focus on the action part of verbs, right? And then an adjective is those descriptive words. All right, so a verb like walk, run, or an adjective like gray, soft, okay? So those 2 parts of speech are really important for our sentences and our writing. We want to take those average, boring verbs and adjectives and make them more vivid. And how we do that is by using more unique words. Now, you don't want to do this with every sentence or everything, because then your writing is going to get really wordy. But here's a couple examples. I'm going to post them right here. You want to go from an average sentence to a more interesting, unique sentence. Really focus on describing the things that are important to your plot and setting with those vivid verbs and vivid adjectives. All right, number 3, plot diagram. Do you guys remember this from, well, we teach it in 7th grade, from school, okay? A plot diagram has 5 parts. It looks like this. We've got the exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. See that circle right by exposition? That's the conflict. So remember at the beginning of this video, we talked about the characters and their goals, what they want in life. That circle, that conflict, is the problem that's getting in the way of them reaching that goal, right? What's the obstacles that they need to encounter? That's the rising action. The climax is the most exciting part of the story. Falling action, things are starting to wrap up. Resolution has the word solution in it. So that problem that the characters were facing gets solved by the end of our story. Now, we've started writing. We have those character traits, those character profiles written out, right? So now we need to plot our story. The plot is the events that make up a story, okay? So once you've kind of brainstormed and started jotting down your notes about your character, you're going to take some of those ideas and think about what is going to happen in your story. Now, you don't need to like really stick to this plot diagram and have everything written out unless that helps you. But what you can do is jot down notes on your plot diagram. What do you feel like is going to happen? The exposition is the setting and the characters. That's where they're introduced. So how is your story going to start? How are you going to introduce those important pieces? And then the rising action builds up to that climax. What's going to be the most exciting part of the story? How is your character going to reach their goal? And then think about, how is everything going to be wrapped up at the end? How do you want the story to end? So you don't need to know every single detail, but have some things jotted down before you start typing. And then when you're done, you can always go back and make sure your story has those 5 important parts on the plot diagram. All right, I hope this is helpful for you guys. So I have a lot of these tips in this journal that's available on Amazon called Bring Your Ideas to Life. So in it, I have like a spot where you can put your character ideas, where it asks you some of those speed dating questions about your characters to get you brainstorming. It also has parts of the plot diagram and asking you different questions that will help you plot your story. So if you want to check this out, if that would be easier, you can check out the link. I'll put it in the description below as well. All right, drop your questions or your comments below and let's see if we can get your story going.